Here we are back with government spokesperson on governance and security. Of course, we're going to be talking about a whole raft of issues, including the MMDCEs who have been sacked and their replacements. We'll also talk about the tax system, the taxes that have come up, what cabinet is saying or not saying, and the planned demonstrations. Joining us, Palgrave, Boakye-Danquah. Palgrave, thanks for coming.
Thank you, Benjamin.
I've told you this already, but
thank you so much.
Lovely outfit
Thank
today.
you. Thank you very much.
All, and I see the cufflinks are UN.
Is that by AZ Code in Kanda?
Oh, wow.
My sister and the husband, they own it.
So. I have some lovely
I should take
designers in there.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I think we'll need one of this.
Thank you, Benjamin.
Okay, so but to start off the conversation, yes, you tried to get into the parliamentary race recently, and was it Asante Akim? Was it
Ibuakwa North constituency?
Ibuakwa North. It's Ibuakwa North. Yes. How could I? Because that constituency is a storied constituency, and you have roots in there. Things didn't exactly go your way. Tell me, share with me. Before, during, after, what was it like, and what are you looking forward to in the future? Is it something you'd go for again?
Well, so Benjamin, a very good morning to you, and very good morning to the good people of Achime Ibuakwa North constituency, to the sitting MP, the Honorable Gifty Chumampofo, to the new candidate, Nana Addo-Frimpong, Chief Buffalo, and to all the aspirants who contested in the NPP parliamentary primaries. Yes, of course, there were 5 aspirants that stood. The Honorable Gifty Chumampofo had 202 votes to her that were casted. I had 76 votes that were casted. Nana Addo-Frimpong Buffalo had 222. Obeng Mensah had 4 votes casted, and Nana Kojo had 4 votes casted. And so I think that it was such.
So you placed third, basically.
I placed third. It was a very healthy competition. It was very keenly contested. I'm glad that I put my best foot forward to be able to serve my constituency. I'm also glad that we have a new candidate in the constituency. I've pledged my support for Nana Addo-Frimpong, also pledged my support for the entire constituency work. I would continually serve in my constituency and support my constituency. There are ongoing projects that I have in the constituency which will be completed. There are other more projects that I will bring into the constituency as a member of the constituents. And so the future is still bright as a young politician for me, serving in the government of President Nana-Addo Dankwa, and also looking forward to the leadership of Alhaji Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia as President of the Republic of Ghana and now flag bearer of the New Patriotic Party.
Right, so all these votes were cast for different personalities, and yes, you placed third. So moving forward, this is something you will go at again?
Well, it's early days. I would say that I'm back to my official role that has been given to me to represent the government on issues concerning governance and security. We are aware that this is a very difficult year for us as a country. It's an electioneering year. We need to ensure that we lock all the holes as it relates to our security. We also need to ensure that we continually block the threats of terrorism against us. And so I keep very slim focus on my role now. The future will determine what the next path would be for me as it relates to my continual service in the government and also my continual service in the party. But yes, we are here to serve whichever role opportunities that are given to us. In this light, I would just ask that my brother Chief Buffalo continues the work that he's been given, and he has our support. I mean, he's a young person like I am, so there's no need putting up an ambition just when you have lost an election. It's to throw maximum support against the candidate that has won. And Buffalo and I were in University of Ghana together. We're in Commonwealth as well. He was my chief vandal.
Oh, you're an old vandal.
Yes, he was my chief vandal. So he has my support, and I think that would support him with all the strength and energies and finances that we have.
How healthy is the NPP now? You just spoke about the difficulties. it's not just a difficult year for Ghana, it's a difficult year for your party, isn't it? I mean, you're hoping to break the 8, but some people say you might as well forget about that. We've got some money in recent times, but things are pretty stark. How do you think the MPP is going to be able to scrape through?
Benjamin, the New Patriotic Party is the party of leaders, and that's how I always would like to situate the conversations. And as a political party, in every electioneering year, you know how difficult it is for political parties in electioneering year, for governments that are ending their term, especially the government of President Danquah Kufuor. The New Patriotic Party does not just only seek to break the 8, but the New Patriotic Party seeks to win successive elections, and this is what we are desiring to do, especially with...
And if you win this time, it would be historic.
Absolutely. I mean, because then every single political party, which is the 2 major political parties, have had an opportunity over the period from 1992 till date. So we can say that everyone has had a fair share of governance, and the Ghanaian electorates have seen how well each political party governs. And I am certain, really, that under the leadership of Alhaji Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, who tomorrow will be outlining a clearer vision and bold decisions for the future of this country in terms of making sure that every single thing that we aspire ourselves to as a year of possibility and years of possibilities ahead of us would be actualized in our lifetime and in our years. And so, yes, we have some hurdles to overcome, but in the midst of the hurdles that we have to overcome, we would remind the Ghanaian people of the desired future that is ahead of us. And you know that if you are supposed to compare, and I like to do this very much often from 1992 to date, there's not been a certain vice president who has been so industrious, out of the box thinking, innovative vice president who has been able to assist the sitting president in the manner in which Alhaji Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia has done from 2008 as a running mate to becoming the vice president of the Republic of Ghana, to winning for the first time the flag bearership of the New Patriotic Party, overwhelmingly 61% of the delegates entrusted leadership onto him. And once an election is done and a leader is chosen, the entire rank and file of the New Patriotic Party supports that new leader. And we have thrown our maximum support behind Alhaji Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. And I know that the Ghanaian people have a lot of trust in him. The Ghanaian people believe that he's a person of integrity.
They do.
The Ghanaian people believe that he's a person of character and nobility. The Ghanaian people know that he's the right person who understands the economy of this world, the economy of Ghana, is able to steer affairs very well. And I have extreme confidence in Alhaji Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. And I stated that Alhaji Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, for me, is the darling boy of the Gold Coast then and now Ghana.
So you said a number of things. I'll just walk you through a few others. You say he enjoys wide support. Of course, there's a base for your party. You speak about his integrity and all of that. And this is not to impugn his integrity, but a lot of people have said that what he said in the past versus what we see now are in diametric opposition, stark opposition. I mean, take November 2023. Dr. Theo Champong, an economist, said Bawumia's problem, in fact, in this election will be his economic messiah tag, which was used time and again. Bawumia, as President Akufo-Addo would say, and look at where we are in the economic ledge. So some would ask, based on what exactly are we to vote for a person like this? You speak of integrity. Some also say that he's been duplicitous, that he's not been honest in a lot of his commentary then and now, and that the very same questions, 100 and something, 70 something, that he was posing back then to the NDC, Emisa Arthur and others, could be posed to him now, and he would have failed even more. And my final bit, there's this, there's a broadcast journalist with Peace FM, Mr. Mafo, who recently was saying, you know what, to the vice president, instead of going round delivering lectures like he's done time without number, he should find a running mate. Why? He feels former President John Mahama has been marketed. He is there. He's a one-time president. two-time contenders, now on his third leg of contending. Everyone knows him. But you, in this slot, you are not known like that. Why not focus on naming your running mate and then running without selling rather than going round delivering lectures? We already know what you have in terms of lectures.
But
How do you react to this?
It's difficult to say that Alhaji Dr. Mahmood Bawumia is not known. I mean, it's
no,
very,
it's not to say that he's not
yes, I mean,
known,
like, politically.
But comparatively, get your running mate and run rather than
yeah, no, I think,
talking.
I think that I would entirely disagree with your colleague journalist from Despite Media. I think, to be honest, Alhaji Dr. Mahmood Bawumia is marketed not just in Ghana, in Africa, and globally. He's very much known. And I would like to situate it like this. Dr. Mahmood Bawumia is a trained economist, okay? Put it in a cardiologist, someone who does heart surgeries.
Are you going to talk about a team?
Well, so because you see, you can't isolate the issues, and I need to be able to put it in proper perspective. A cardiologist does heart operations, and a cardiologist does not work alone. He works with nurses, would work with anesthesia, would work with other surgeons who would come in. They'll need internal medicine. They'll need a whole constellation of people, an entire cosmopolitan of surgeons and medics who would be around the table to ensure that a heart surgeon is successful. Now, if you look at Alhaji Dr. Mahmood Bawumia as the greatest economist, and I've stated that Alhaji Dr. Mahmood Bawumia is one of the foremost greatest economists of the millennium in this country. And
oh wow!
Absolutely. And you cannot take away the fact that he understands the global trend of economy. You cannot take away the fact that he has rejuvenated. And I've stated continually that if you look at the strive on digitalization and how well we have driven the agenda and how people stated that someone who is an economist has now moved into digitalization. I've stated that people who made those statements were reading from an old manuscript, because if you want to really understand the new age of economy, you need to understand the digital economy, because that is where we have got into as a new world. In the new world order, we're looking at digital economy. We're looking at how you can sync your digital system to already existing systems in the world, which is why if you fly from Accra to Heathrow, you can immediately connect from point A to point B because the system is linked to one another, which is what we sought to do with the drive of digitalization. We've sought to digitalize major institutions in this country. Today, if you go to Hospital A, you don't need to look for an old file. You just need to put your name into a system and you'll find that. If you go to Hospital A in Accra and you move to Tamale and you are ill, all you need to do is to just put your name in the system, and it's extremely digitalized. We've digitalized the birth and death. We have ensured that every single individual who is born in this country has a unique identifiable number. You remember when we were young and we used to travel to London, people were very excited with getting an NI. You remember, people still hold on to their NI today. And that when you are ill and you get back to London, you can immediately go and see your GP. And so really, that is where we're looking into taking the world, that once you have your card, which is the Ghana card, or you have your digital address system, or you have your GPS, every single thing that you have is linked and is synced, so that you can
the
easily
digitalization,
be found.
Let me just say
that cannot be cannot be ruled out at all.
The drive has been going on for decades. Let me just state that, from even Rawlings to Kufuor to Atta Mills to Mahama. This many of the drives we've seen, even with the national identity card, the Ghana card, has been going on for a long time. Yes, you would say that the MPP has come and actualized a lot of these. Beyond digitalization or digitization, because digitalization is then where you monetize or weaponize, if you may put it that way, digitization. What other credit would you give to Dr. Bawumia by way of the economy? You refer to him as, and just to clarify, the foremost economist of the millennium. Is it Ghanaian, African, or global?
Rate it in every way.
No,
rate it in every way.
So the foremost
from Ghana
economist
to Africa
globally.
to globally.
Because
no, rate it anywhere.
I'm sorry,
wherever you.
It's almost laughable for me.
No. If you look at it very objectively, you know, Benjamin. If you look at it
objectively,
very
based on what metrics?
A lot of metrics.
The finest economist in the world has left us where we are in terms of our GDP.
You know
in terms of inflation, in terms of the currency. Do you remember when there was talk about inflation the currency?
Have you checked inflation now?
Inflation has hovered to around 20-something%. It doesn't. You see, I am always. It's so disingenuous. Okay, when we talk about, first off, even in terms of the averages of inflation. Averages, I'm not talking of the 54 point something. If you look at the averages, we are still at the highest average that we've ever hit within the last 2 decades plus. And then when you look at month-on-month inflation, that's where the devil is. It's like talking about macroeconomics when the micro is horrible.
I've always stated this. You know, I'm not an economist at the base. I mean, so, but the basic thing is that when people go out to buy, when people go out to sell, there are exchanges, and people are able to make ends meet. Okay, and I've stated that yes, if you look at the trajectory of how Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia has assisted the sitting president, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo.
How is he assisted?
So I'm coming to it. In actualizing the vision, when we came in from 2017 till date, government has been running on policies. Every single policy that the government of Ghana under the leadership of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, assisted by the Vice President Alhaji Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, has actualized its fulfilled vision. And I've stated that if you look at a policy that begins from a political party angle, you win an election, it becomes a government policy. You are able to actualize those policies very well. It becomes a civic responsibility. Such that now, when your government is out of power in terms of the leadership of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, there are some policies that would remain in country that has become a civic responsibility. That is when you have achieved your singular aim of every single policy that you have laid out.
Let's check out, since you're talking about the policies of government, let's look at some of what they wrote on. And it was crucial when, in election 2016, the economy and, you know, Yatisikaso and so accommodating and all of that. Let's look at those metrics. Let's look at the debt to GDP ratio. Okay? Let's look at how much the MPP has added on. Over 500 or so billion that has been added on to the 122 billion that you inherited. Let's look at the GDP, so debt to GDP. Let's look at inflation, like I said. And I don't know why sometimes members of your grouping run away from month-on-month inflation, because that keeps going higher. I don't know where you buy from, what you buy, and all of that. Then there is our international reserves, for example. It's only recently that I see that it's over 2-point-something months. It fell as low as about a month's cover. And now we are looking at the currency as well, still fluctuating wildly in some instances. I know of people who have to make purchases now, and if you're purchasing in dollars, you're paying close to 13 cedis per dollar. Okay, so let's use these metrics. These very same ones that were campaigned upon, these very same things that Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia spoke about. Tell me about them.
You know, Benjamin, I'll tell you one truth, okay? We have gone through some challenges as a country. We've gone through challenges as a world, okay?
Are you going to give me the COVID-19?
No, but Benjamin, you want to live in isolation. You want to live in isolation of that?
Has your team? No. You on the MPP? Have you paid attention?
You won't allow me to respond.
I'll allow you.
I have not even mentioned
I will
Russia.
heckle you because I know where you are going.
No, but allow me. Allow me, Benjamin.
We're tired of
no, Benjamin. You cannot be tired.
We
of
are.
That. You cannot be tired
because
of
your
that.
brother and sister countries have gone past and they are making strides, and you are still complaining.
You cannot be tired of it. The reason why you cannot be tired of it is that every single country was impacted, from America to London to Europe to Middle East to Africa to Asia. Every single country was impacted. And I can tell you for one truth, if it wasn't of the sterling leadership of President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo with the Vice President Alhaji Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, this country, Ghana, would not be where it is. Benjamin,
what makes you think that?
I'll tell you, so it's leadership.
The proof of the pudding is in the eating. What makes you think someone wouldn't have done better?
Benjamin, we have seen what they have done before.
I'm not talking necessarily about the NDC.
No, but which other person?
What makes you think someone else wouldn't have fared better?
Which other person? We have run significantly for the past 32 years.
You borrowed significantly, over 500 billion. What do you have to show for your borrowing? You have practically precious little to show for your borrowing.
Allow me to expand on.
I will allow you, but where you're going is
Benjamin. You allow me. No, allow me, because the evidences. I think that the evidences of the excellent work of President Danquah Akufo-Addo is on the table for the bearing 18-year-old who are going to make decisions on the 7th of December to see.
Well, come that time, we'll find out.
I can enumerate all of them if you give me time. I can enumerate all of them.
Thanks to all those good policies, we are back to the IMF.
No, Benjamin. Do you know how many countries? Do you know how many countries went to the IMF?
No, it's not a matter of how many countries. The circumstances are different for each country.
No, the circumstances are different. But there was one single circumstance.
Many of these countries did not borrow wildly like the MPP did.
There was one single country. There was one single issue that took every single country to the IMF. That was the collapse of global economies.
Collapse.
Absolutely.
Collapse of the global economy. Did you not see? I wouldn't call it that.
Okay, what would you call it? The impact of global economies?
Not collapse.
Okay, the impact of global economies.
Right.
How global economies struggled over the years. You haven't seen that. So really, I think that when we are putting the issues in proper perspectives, allow us to put it in perspectives, because you don't want to paint a picture as though
your perspective, not proper perspective. Your perspective.
Benjamin, but you see, I can only speak in light of the perspective where I sit from, and then also objectively look at it from where the other person sits from. Because when the lights are on, it doesn't just impact me. When the fuel pump is giving fuel on a daily basis, it doesn't just impact me. When school children are going to school for free under free SHS, it doesn't just impact me. When teachers are being paid, it doesn't just impact me. When nurses are being paid, it doesn't just impact me. When SNIT is increasing pensions allowance, it doesn't just impact me. When we are ensuring that the road is being constructed, it doesn't just impact me. When ambulances are working, it doesn't just impact me. When drones are delivering essential medicine to rural communities, it does not just impact me. When we are ensuring that every single district is having a factory, it does not just impact me. So really, when I put it in perspective from my angle, I also put it in perspective from your angle, and objectively to see the impact that we are making on every single Ghanaian who is benefiting from the leadership of President Danquah Akufo-Addo and the sterling leadership of Alhaji Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, who is a flag bearer.
Every Ghanaian. I wonder which Ghanaians you speak to when you go into your constituencies. But I guess come election day, we'll find out. You said a number of things. I'll pick just one of them. I don't want to rehash all of these. You mentioned power. I'll be getting to power shortly because it's a major conversation. But you said every district has got, you know that's not the case. That at one district, one factory has not materialized as you see it. In fact, if we want to go there, you would let me even get into the central refinery that has just come up. And I feel I have nothing against the Chinese. I have nothing against private enterprise coming in. But it's a shame to us that we have Tor sitting there. We sidestepped it for reasons only God knows. Put up this other refinery, and we are basically giving the Chinese a crucial asset. Do you know what refining this crude does for a country? We've left Tor. And I do admit the previous administrations have had their own problems, now Provençal and everything. We've let Tor disintegrate, deteriorate to where it is, just as we've done with Comenda. And now you see Mr. President in his fleet, government officials going to commission Central. Like I said, nothing against the Chinese. I don't care. Private enterprise, it's good. But when you have crucial assets like that, and you would hear that they say, yes, there's some one district, one factory, mix in there, whatever it may be. Are you aware that with the levels they're going to refine at, it's basically going to be the death knell for Tor? Are you aware that they don't have storage systems of their own. They rely on the storage systems of Tor. What sense does that make? Are you aware, per reports, that some of the equipment has to be borrowed from Tor and used for X, Y, and Z? Who does that? So if you want to even go into one district, one factory, and all the shenanigans that have been painted, that in itself would be something. You say one district, one factory. Why haven't you revived Ekumfi? You promised time without number to revive Ekumfi. It's a rust bucket. It's a rust bucket. So let's not even go there. But you spoke about power, right? You spoke about power and keeping the lights on and everything. I just want us to walk through this. You gave Ghanaians, right? You claimed there was free power for some basic consumers during the COVID period. Now you have had a COVID-19 levy that has been on the books for how long now? Production team, confirm for me. How long has it been? 2.5, 3 years? COVID-19 levy. COVID-19 levy. The only country in the world, it makes absolutely no sense to me. You've been increasing the prices of power for a while. It went down marginally and then it's been shooting up ever since. And now you are slapping on 15% VAT. This is more like, oh, me
But Benjamin, I don't think that's a true reflection of what it is.
How would you think that is the true reflection?
Because you see, I'm aware that Cabinet met on Friday in relation to the 15% on electricity in terms of VAT. And Cabinet has asked that it be held on.
Held on.
Yes.
We've heard from the grapevine all of these things.
Yes,
There's been no communication to.
Well, I mean, I'm sure that would come in no time. But really to state that, you see, we have systems and operations that work in this country. We have the PRRC that is mandated by the Constitution to ensure that tariffs are reviewed so that you pay for what you use. And even in our time, we have even reduced it significantly as it relates to people who work like artisans. We've reduced it because we have allowed the industries to pay more. And then we have also measured it up with residential usage as well, which wasn't so. Benjamin, we are living in a system where systems must work. If tariffs are not reviewed for you to pay what you use, for the electricity company and the water company to be able to continue to function and then oil their greasing system, then where are we here? So tariffs will be reviewed, and tariffs have been reviewed every significant time based on people's usages, and government always comes in to cushion that.
Government, you do know that this 15% VAT and all of that has nothing to do with utilities and how much we should pay.
You mentioned tariffs. You mentioned tariffs. So I'm hitting on tariffs.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Now, the second thing as well is that, you see, Benjamin, we must continually encourage private sector to invest in country. I'm very familiar with Sento, and I'm very familiar with the investment. I think that private sector and government appreciates the level of investment that is being made. Okay. Now, you talk about...
We'll continue going into the private sector because of what people will get into their pockets.
No, I don't think so.
Rather than do public sector,
I don't think so.
I mean,
because you see,
government officials who do a lot of private, because that is where the money is.
No, Benjamin.
That's where the corruption is.
No,
let's face it. That's where the corruption is.
I don't think so.
That's where you get your kickbacks and everything.
There is no evidence to show.
Oh, no evidence?
I don't know.
No evidence?
I don't know.
Do you want me to remind you of
I don't know of any evidence. I don't know
of the PPA and
I don't know of any evidence of anyone who is involved in any corrupt activity by allowing a private investor to invest in a local economy. TOR is a responsibility of the state. Okay? TOR is a responsibility of the state.
So the MPP has been irresponsible with TOR?
No.
Is that what you're saying?
TOR is a responsibility of the state.
Yeah.
The private sector does not own TOR. And so if a private investor comes in and wants to invest in this manner, I think that one of the overarching goal for government is to create that enabling environment.
Yeah, and so use TOR's resources to aid another entity that is largely China-oriented.
You need to investigate that very well.
Investigate what?
What you're saying.
Do you know my sources?
Well,
have you spoken to the key players in that industry?
You need to investigate it very well.
I will direct you to your own Kojopoku. Huh? Go and have an interaction with a member of your party, Kojopoku. Have an interaction with the Dankanamwes. Have an interaction with the Bembwachis and come back to me.
That's not a problem. But you see, we shouldn't let it look as though we are not encouraging private investors to come into the country to invest, because you see, it creates jobs for the local people.
Yeah.
It creates security for the local people.
It puts money into people's pockets.
Well, it puts money in the Ghanaian economy.
It puts money into politicians' pockets.
No, I don't think so. Those are assumptions that you're making.
Assumptions. Huh?
Those are very hasty assumptions.
You know, I feel sometimes you politicians, you think we should commend media people. We can't read between the lines.
We should commend private investors for coming in. We encourage more private investors to come into Ghana, to invest in Ghana. It's a fertile environment. We're ensuring that we are growing the Ghanaian economy. We're creating a lot of opportunities for people to be able to expand and increase their own lives and livelihood. So really, for me, I think that if you look at what we have done in terms of government's involvement in private sector, is key, because government only creates that enabling environment, and that's what governments must do. And you must commend President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, you must commend government for seeing such level of investment. You may not see the benefits now, but in the years to come, you will see the benefits thereafter. So cabinet met, I'm aware, because there was a communique to that effect. There was a publication on Assassin News, one of your media friends, that cabinet met on Friday, 2nd of February, and went through various conversations. And one of them was a 15% on VAT in terms of electricity. And that has been asked to be held on. And I'm very certain that an official communique would come to that effect. Because you see, the government thinks and cares about the Ghanaian people. TUC gave a very strong warning.
So today is February the 6th. If by February the 13th this has not come, they will demonstrate. When are you hoping to?
I'm certain that the official communique should come out very soon, because you see, TUC is a very strong entity, and even government has increased salaries of employees in this country, which wasn't so in the yesteryears. We've increased it, and we even seek to increase it again by mid of this year. So TUC, labor organizations, GUTA, they are very key to driving agendas of government and ensuring that government is at peace. This year is a year that I don't think that we would want to see a lot of demonstrations. And so government will do what is right. Government would continue to listen.
So you do what is right, not because it is right, but because you want to avoid demonstrations.
No, we need to do what is right.
A typical example.
No, but Benjamin
would be a typical example.
But when you do what is right,
unions,
when you do what is right, you prevent people from going on the streets.
You have taken some of these unions their pensions. You are simply supposed to take it and give it to the pension fund. You take the money and hold on to the money and use it for whatever purposes. You've been doing that for years. The question is why? So would you wait till you smell that, hey, it's an electoral year, let's avoid demonstrations, before you do the right thing? Why not just do the right thing?
No, I don't think that government wants to avoid demonstrations because it's an election year. Because you see, Benjamin,
but you just
personally,
said that.
No, hold on.
You just said that.
Hold on, Benjamin, hold on. Personally, I always want to come to the table with peace.
Okay.
And so I'm not a person who advocates for demonstration. I'm averse to demonstration. I don't like demonstration.
Mind your words, because someday in the future, if another party is in power, don't come and advocate for demonstrations, because you're a very peaceful man.
I'm a very peaceful gentleman.
Okay.
I like for heads to be around the table, for books to be open, for pens to be in the hands, for us to dialogue. I think that dialoguing is more important, because you see, and you can, even in dialoguing like now we're doing, you are demonstrating your own views. I mean, the conversations we are having is advocating the views that we have, and that's also a demonstrative act. So what I'm averse to is walking on the street wearing a red band or a red beret and trying to let your views be heard. I think that there are various means and mediums that you can use.
Which is why these groupings, do you know for how long they've tried with the Labour Commission, the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission?
I comment. Look, I'll tell you something, Benjamin. I once upon a time sat in the negotiations, and I must tell you, I commend the very hard work of Guta, very hard work of TUC, very hard work of CLOSAG, TEWU. The Labour unions are key, and for me, I honor them. I value them. I'm grateful for their continual involvement in our governance structure because we cannot isolate them, which is why government is listening to what the labor organizations are saying. Benjamin, can you imagine one day when these labor organizations decide to go on strike and they cut across from the health sector to the drivers' union?
But it's already affecting our tertiary institutions.
I know.
The senior staff.
I know, which is why government is always making sure that we are listening to the labor organizations and the labor.
Let me quickly run these by you before we conclude. There's also the emissions levy. You've heard of that. Someone was asking this morning, I forgot to answer your question about if you're using gas to power your car and all of that. I want to believe that is exempt because it mentions petrol and diesel, right? But anything from using a motorbike, 75 cedis, upwards to about over 300 cedis. Some people have asked, wait, is this also part of the IMF structure? And what will this be used for? Because is it dealing with climate issues or is it a general bit just to make, meet our financial obligations? Quickly on that, and then we can get into the MMDCs and wrap. Are they scrapping this one too? Tell us, cabinet method, they are scrapping this one too.
Benjamin, you see, earlier on, you had a conversation around the air pollution in Ghana. And I read on your timeline.
You want to use that?
Benjamin, why not?
COVID-19.
No, Benjamin, no.
Ukraine.
Benjamin,
now the AQI. You want to use the AQI?
Benjamin, I'm a well-read, avid gentleman. So allow me. Hey. That's the truth, Benjamin. That's the truth. Visibility is very difficult, And so
we need to tax
Benjamin. Hey. I think that you have just reminded me of my great grand uncle who said,
That's all. You go.
But really, Benjamin, climate is very key. In my master's in conflict, peace, and security, I did a thesis and a dissertation on climate change and how that can affect security, because that's really very key. We cannot be involved in COP27 in Scotland, be involved in COP28 in United Arab Emirates, and make all those pledges and not want to be seen to be doing something that would reduce our emissions in Ghana in terms of contribution of CO2. Okay, so I think that it's really key for government to begin a conversation.
Right.
Okay, and see to it that conversation comes to light and that conversation comes to fruition. There are not just vehicles that use diesel and petrol. There are industries as well who almost always contribute to pollutions in the atmosphere. I think that the goal is to ensure that as we go green with our continual work from the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources through the Honorable Samuel Abu-Jinapor, with going green and ensuring that our climate is clean and we are leaving the world in a better place as we met it, I think that it's important for every government to begin that conversation.
Okay.
Because it was in 2015 when we started looking into the emissions and the climate issues. And it's been a major conversation. And you are aware that government and President Danquah Akufo-Addo is ensuring that every single involvement of Ghana in the international sector, you need to ensure that whatever promises and pledges that you make, you implement that in country. So we need to just look at it. It's early days. It's something that people have not heard of it before. It means that in a very short time, we should start having a lot more electronic vehicles. I know people who have electronic vehicles who use it in country. We should have a lot more of that in country. We should be able to do away with vehicles that are beyond 10 years, beyond 5 years, so we can have a lot more healthier vehicles, nicer vehicles, user-friendly vehicles, our buses, our taxis, the vehicles that commute people from point A to point B would be in a very dignifying manner.
Okay. Let's do some, just a few reactions. I always feel uncomfortable when I don't read reactions. And then we'll take your final thoughts in about a minute on the MMDCEs. So we have Aaron who says, take it easy on your guest this morning. I don't know, what am I doing to... Paul Grave is my brother. So then this one says, it just came in, Sobole Moses says, has Mr. Boakye-Danquah ever sat down and reflected on the reasons? Okay, so let me leave that out. I'm sorry, sometimes it gets a bit personal, so I have to. Then there's George Forson. They have affirmed that the black man in his own country can't run things. Politicians have run this country down since 1957, when we had independence. I don't necessarily agree. I don't agree. In fact, not even necessarily. I don't agree with a bit about the black man can't manage his own affairs. Nkrumah touted that I just feel is the kind of leaders we've had, or misleaders as I call them, that have left us here. Lincoln Abraham says, the government is not only their pensions, but individual government workers who took insurance policies have had their premiums withheld by the Comptroller and Accountant General. These premiums are in arrears 3 months, November 2023 to January 2024, and they have not paid individual insurance companies. Okay. And you say their constant disrespect to Ghanaians is legendary, and you're talking of the MPP. George says, Mr. Boakye-Danquah is in a different Ghana. Is it true? Are you in a different Ghana?
How can I be? I woke up this morning, and the time I have here is 9 o'clock.
Are you sure you were in Ghana this morning before you came? Or you came from London? Sunny Kware says, Benjamin, you're doing a good job. Dada Lincoln says, I'm proud of you. Okay, questions and all that. Kwabene J says, hey, Mr. Boakye, the world's best economist, pa. Okay, and he goes on with some other thoughts. Now, this weather is beginning to get to me. And then there are many more coming through, but I think I'll just pick those for now. I don't know whether you have any reactions, but to conclude, NALAD has been talking about the, out of the 39 women MMDCEs, I think another 6 have lost their jobs in the recent axing, bringing the number down to 33. If you look at the number of districts and others and the women component, you see that already they are very small and now they've been cut off. But what are your quick reactions? Sacking appointment.
I'm surprised you're using the word sacking. I mean, I think that in the entire governance structure...
but you get appointed, and if you don't, you are sacked.
No, you're not sacked. You are relieved of your role. I like to use that word. You are relieved of your role. You are
sacked.
Sacking
is a sack.
You are relieved of your role.
Sacking
or you are relieved.
Or sacking.
You are relieved of your role. Benjamin, it's the truth. You are relieved of your role.
The difference.
You are relieved of your role.
Would you continue to play that role?
You won't. So you are relieved.
So you've been sacked?
No, you've been relieved.
Yeah, you did.
No, you have been relieved. So I think that in the governance structure, it's healthy to bring new people in. The president has relieved some MMDCs of their roles and has appointed a few other people who are going to be working in that stead. I think that is welcoming. We should just welcome them. We should encourage them to do a lot more good work in terms of their representation of the president in the municipalities and bring a lot more development, bring a lot more government interventions in their municipalities because it's very key. We have just 10 months to wrap up the year and also wrap up the government of President Danquah Kufuor. And so in this last lap, it's just like playing a football match. No extra time that will be given. And I think that we should just allow it to slide. I would commend those who have worked hard over the years and ask that whatever new opportunities that there are given to them, they should continue to avert themselves to such hard work and such hard disciplines. And I'm sure that a lot more changes that needs to be done. We would look forward to see what is in the mind of the president going forward.
Final words, Paul Grave?
Well, final words are that tomorrow, at between 4 and 5, the sitting vice president and flag bearer of the New Patriotic Party would be having a conversation with the Ghanaian people at UPSA at the Ohene Kunedu Hall and would be outlining very clearly bold visions and bold solutions for Ghana. Benjamin, I am in no doubt in my mind that Ghana is going to breathe a lot more better in the future. Ghana is going to be a lot more healthier in the future, that under the leadership of Alhaji Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia as the incoming president from the 7th of January 2025, we're going to have a lot more possibilities in this country, bold decisions. And I think that we should give him the opportunity and the chance. And I would ask that, Benjamin, when you get to the ballot, vote none other person than Alhaji Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, and ask for multimedia to support Alhaji Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia in the 2024 general election. Vote for Ghana's continual development. These will be my last words. And I'm sure that next week we'll come back to discuss the policies and the vision that Alhaji Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia would lay out tomorrow.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Paul Grave.
Thank you
for coming through.
Thank you.
I still love your dress.
Thank you.
It looks very good.
AZ Code did this at Kanda.
Right.
So
that is Paul Grave Boakye-Danquah. He is government spokesperson on governance and security. But still to come on the show, the question, how do you learn without the assistance of a teacher? That's the story of pupils of the Chigu Primary School in the Northeast Gonja district of the Northern Region. They want government to help them to remedy their situation. We'll be discussing this right here on the AM show, after which we'd love to hear from you. More conversations coming up. Do stay.